We got 15 games here on Tuesday's MLB slate. Which of these games can we be making some money on before we got to take a little pause for the All-Star break? That's what you're here to find out. Dan Alexander with you here live on the WagerTalk TV YouTube channel and across all your streaming platforms for First Pitch here today. I got two great guests joining me to break down this big slate with some marquee matchups like my Phillies taking on the Dodgers. That's right. Bryan, Leonard, and Pauly joining me today. We're going to talk the Nats versus Mets, Arizona and Atlanta. We're going to talk some Texas and LA Angels, Colorado and Cincinnati, and of course hit on some other games here like that Phillies and Dodgers games and the questions you have for us across these social platforms and YouTube along the way. That's how we do it here. Shout out if you're joining us live. Make sure you hit that like button. You are subscribed, and if you're on those social platforms, make sure you hit that follow button. We would appreciate it. All right, Bryan, let's get right into it. We'll tell people also a little bit later, you got a 5% that you're excited about here tonight. So stay tuned. Bryan's going to let you know about a great deal to grab that. But this Nats and Mets game, I'm glad that we're doing this one right out of the gate because we get to eat our humble pie. We were saying this Mets line yesterday against the Pirates, we're getting plus money, bounce back spot. They get to potentially, lock up a solid series win there. And then they got rolled 8-2. So the plus money in that case was too good to be true. Now it's even more of a bounce back spot as they're going to take on this Nationals team. How are you looking to bet this one, Bryan?
Yeah, that matchup yesterday, both starting pitchers pitched well. One bad pitch from the rookie for the Mets cost him 2 runs, and that was it there. But, today we're taking a look at this one, going back there, and I had this game circled. Jake Irvin's having a very good season with a 2.80 ERA, 1.00 whip, just a great season for him. His walk rate is in the 80th percentile, and his extension is in the 91st percentile. Two key numbers I take a look at. But he's only in the 23rd percentile on average exit velocity, 23rd percentile on hard hit rate, which means that when he does get hit, he gets hit hard, which is why the 2.8 ERA jumps to 3.6 if you take a look at his expected ERA. And when it comes to Quintana, after back-to-back years of ERAs under 3.6, he's taken a step back this season, and he's pitched better of late. I'll give him that. And we really like this matchup in this one. Is being an experienced lefty that throws 5 pitches, we expect him to keep the Washington bats silent. 2 of the bigger bats in Washington's lineup are lefties, and so that's a big advantage here. And when taking a look at WRC plus on the season versus Southpaws, Washington only comes in 28th with an 82. For those that don't follow WRC plus, 100 is league average. So they're 18% worse than league average and only better than the Cardinals and Marlins versus Southpaws. I think we're catching Jose Quintana here on the uptick, and we get to fade Jake Irvin a little bit here. And I think the Mets is a bargain at this price here. Quintana's got 2 starts this week, and they're against 2 bad hitting teams against lefties. I expect another win for the Mets here.
Mets getting the job done. Grimace celebrating once again after they burned pretty much me, Drew, Bryan, the entire chat yesterday. So, hey, why not go back to the Mets here? But yeah, with that price, kind of makes sense to me. Hop below in the comments. Let us know if you're looking to bet that one, and if you are, how you're looking to do so. Our man Pauly is in the saddle. I was talking to him on Twitter. You can find him at Slime Action about the lovely guitar that he has. I have one behind me as well, so maybe one time EP and I are going to have to jam here. But let's jam on this Texas and LA Angels game, because you have a couple different ways that you think that you can bet this game, and a lot of them involve fading the spring chicken that's going to be on the bump for Texas, and that's, of course, Max Scherzer and his double eye color. So you have a couple of different ways that you're going to be looking to attack this one, EP. Why don't you break this one down for the folks?
Yeah, so the first thing that stood out to me, obviously Scherzer is come back from injury, a living, walking legend.
Yep.
He isn't qualified for any of the percentile rankings on Baseball Savant because he has only pitched in 3 games this season, come back from the injury. but he has crazy metrics against the Los Angeles Angels. Like the current Angels roster in 38 plate appearances, a 47.4% strikeout rate, which is absurd, a .145 expected batting average, and a .186 expected weighted on base. With that being said, I like Max Scherzer to, I don't want to say just Max Scherzer to struggle. I like overall this game to go over, and I think that obviously the Angels are going to have to contribute to that. But those numbers are really unsustainable. And something to keep in mind, like everything has context with it. So the last game against the Padres, Scherzer went 6.1, 6 hits, 3 runs, 1 walk, 3 Ks. You look at that, you say, okay, that's a pretty good game from the veteran. But you have to take into consideration that Wyatt Langford robbed a 2-run home run. And he also threw out a runner at home that would have resulted in 3 more runs for the Padres in that game. The next thing you know, that stat line isn't looking so great. So I'm not ready to sit here and say that Scherzer is, all the way back, especially when it comes to strikeout metrics. So his strikeout line is like 6.5. I like the under there. On the flip side, Rosansky Contreras, he's a young pitcher. He was on the Pirates as a reliever. Angels are trying to make something out of him, but I still think he stinks from what I've seen from him. And this Rangers lineup, I know they put up 9 last night. They've been struggling all year. I don't think it was necessarily a fluke. I think that this lineup is finally coming into its own with Wyatt Langford batting in that cleanup spot. He's been absolutely rolling. Got him at 20-1 to win the AL Rookie of the Year about 4 weeks ago. And now he's at a solid plus 155, depending where you look. So rooting for my boy there. But I expect these two teams to score runs. I expect Scherzer to not be able to rack up the strikeouts. I think the runs come in early as well. I like a Yurfie in this game. I think that Marcus Semien, Corey Seager, Josh Smith, and Wyatt Langford could get to Contreras in the first inning. And yes, this Angels team, it's you don't know what you're getting from these young cast of characters, but I expect them to show some pride against Scherzer in this one and be able to put up a little bit of a fight. I have it projected over the current total, so I like Scherzer under Ks. I like a Yurfie in this one, and I do like the full game total, as the Angels bullpen, of course, is horrendous, and I think Contreras is horrendous also. So a lot of leeway for Texas. Angels hopefully just have to score 3 to help us get over a total here.
Man, I love the breakdown there. So we're looking at the Yurfie, a full game over, and if you want to sprinkle in a little bit of a Scherzer under on the K's, see how deep he is going. I'm with it, living legend, but hey, got to bet with the head, not with the heart. That's Eric Pauly. You can get his plays and a contributing cast of teams over at the Gold Sheet, wt.buzz/TGS. Guys, like I said, this is a great Tuesday slate. Kind of, Monday is always like the appetizer. Only 7 games yesterday. It was kind of hard to find some marquee matchups, but there's a couple of games that are super intriguing, and I think none more so, and I'm not just saying it because I'm a Phillies homer. I mean, Phillies-Dodgers. In this matchup, guys, you have 13 combined players from these ball clubs who are going to be, entertaining on All-Star Weekend. And it's an all-star matchup even outside of the guys who didn't make the cut. Wheeler is going to be on the bump here for the game that many are going to be locked into tonight. 6:40 is the start time on the East Coast. We've already seen the money come here for the dog on a couple different notable books as the Dodgers are getting some plus money, and it's something that you don't see much of with regularity. But BP, I mean, Wheeler, he especially at home, Wheeler is a dealer, that is for sure. How do you see this game 1 shaking out? How do you see, is there a potential way to see how game 1 shakes out and have it extrapolate how you're going to bet this series? Or do you think this might just be a case of this series is early here or halfway through the season, not being able to quite live up to the hype of these are 2 division leaders, they're 2 contenders. This could be, the series preview for what we see in the postseason. What do you think about this series, of course? And of course, here in game 1 with Miller and Wheeler going, anything that you might be able to bet in this one? I think you might be muted, Bryan.
Oh, I thought you were going to him. I'm sorry.
All good.
This is a tough one for me because we don't have complete information yet. Because the 2, well, not the 2, but 2 of the better hitters in the Phillies lineup are eligible to come off the IL today, and that's Harper and Schwarber. Until I get information that they're going to be in this lineup here, I can't bet it. Now, if they do come back, this is a little bit of a cheap number. Miller's a guy I like for the Dodgers, but if you take a look at the Dodgers team, they're still missing Mookie Betts, which is one of the best hitters in baseball. And the back end of this Dodger lineup is starting to hit a little bit, but they're not hitting with much authority. They're getting guys that are getting on base, which you weren't doing at all earlier in the season. But the Dodgers are limited to only the first half of the lineup is really somebody you have to worry about. If we can get those two big bats for the Phillies back in here, we've got 7 guys for the Phillies that can knock it out of the park at any time. I prefer the Phillies here if we get them back, but until I see they're in the lineup, I can't bet them. But unfortunately, when we do see they're in the lineup, the line's probably going to move. So you got to be quick on the trigger in that regard.
EP is the squarest play in the world. I know Wheeler on the bump, but with the hitting lineups that they have, is it just going over the key number of 9? But Bryan kind of touched upon it as well, is if you just look at the names in this matchup, oh my God, Citizens Bank Park, not really much weather to speak of. You got to go over in this one. But as Bryan kind of mentioned, it's not like the Dodgers bats have been all screaming, all signs up. So any thoughts on this one, side total, any props that stand out to you in this one, EP?
So I completely agree with Bryan of his analysis when, of course, if you have, Schwarber and Harper coming back, this is a completely different Phillies lineup. This Dodgers lineup is disgusting when they are, without Mookie Betts, the bottom of it is disgusting. Not they're filthy good. They're just ugly. But
the actual meaning is disgusting. Yeah.
But Bobby Miller is a guy that I don't want to quit, and maybe I'm just dumb for not wanting to quit him, potentially because I just think he's a stud, and maybe he's proven to me so far this season that he's not been a stud. Yes, he's dealt with injuries, but I think that maybe an under could be a look if these two big bats do not come back for the Phillies, because of course Wheeler, you expect him to come out and pitch well at home. He's one of the best pitchers in the National League. But Bobby Miller, he is a guy who, again, I'm just not able to quit. The Phillies strikeout metrics with this current lineup over the last 14 days is just not really great against right-handed pitching. And Bobby Miller's a guy, he let off the season with an 11 strikeout game before it kind of imploded in front of him, and then some injuries, and he hasn't really regained any form since coming back off the IL. But this is something that I'm personally sitting out. You would think that you kind of want to maybe take the Dodgers at a plus price, because how often are the Dodgers going to be a plus price this season? End of the day, probably only a handful of times. I've only seen it 1 or 2 times so far this year. But I would expect that if Bobby Miller is able to, pitch anywhere near his potential, the kid's only 25 years old, and of course with Wheeler on the other end in this Phillies lineup, not having, 2 of their key cogs in it, that we could be actually looking at an under here. And a Bobby Miller strikeout prop would also be interesting, as well as the Phillies K numbers, not just strikeout rate, but also swinging strike and chase rate are up. Not like Miller forces a bunch of those things so far this season, but we have seen potential flashes of Bobby Miller being a very good big league pitcher. And if there's any time for him to show that he, has that kind of stuff, it's today in a major matchup in what should certainly be a playoff preview early right now in July.
Yeah, and both teams coming off a loss. In the case of the Phillies, they're coming off of 2 losses here. So, yeah, it's really which team is going to be primed here to bounce back. For what it's worth, if you play much into the weather when you're looking to bet totals, when you're looking to bet games, when you're looking to bet props, everybody that I know of my friends back east have been bitching about how hot it has been. And it also looks like we're going to have some winds out to center in this one. So, at least worth mentioning there that you got a hot ballpark with winds blowing out, but you got 2 pitchers who, hey, they're looking to pitch around contact as it is. So what Miller, Wheeler, hop below in the comments. Let us know how you're looking to bet that one. Shout out to the chat over on YouTube. Richard Lockhart, Jason Bumgardner. We got Eric D, Tyler in the house, Have Cash. We appreciate all of you. Make sure, I know that you guys have hit that subscribe button already, but if you're just seeing us for the first time, hitting that subscribe button, get you info that you need around the clock. We have daily game videos going. WagerTalk today is just 45 minutes away here, and that's right, football is right around the corner. If you love yourself some Kelly in Vegas as well, you're going to want to stay tuned. She's joining Teddy Covers in the host seat for Prez. So not only do we not have to listen to Prez, we get Kelly. I mean, come on, folks. That's more reasons than ever to stick around here. Guys, since we're talking about 2 teams who are coming off of losses that's kind of been atypical, how about this Yankees ball club? Yankees taking on the Rays here. That's just a team, again, that you think of how the year started for them. they really haven't been able to find much footing. It's been up, it's been down, and if you ask anyone, it's definitely been underwhelming to say the least. I mean, sure, the Rays are in search of finding, a little bit more footing too, but they're the Tampa Bay Rays. They're not the New York Yankees. EP, I'll throw it back to you on this one. We'll get Bry's thoughts as well. And also, Eric's going to break down some thoughts on a new market being offered over there on the Blue Book that he has some thoughts on some pitchers and some Dinger Tuesday promos as well. But first, hey, any dingers coming in this one? Yankees and Rays, how do you see this one shaking out, EP?
I haven't dove into potential hitters in this one yet, but I do like the Tampa Bay Rays to beat the New York Yankees. Similarly
Wow.
to the Los Angeles Dodgers we were just mentioning, like I was at Yankee Stadium on Sunday for that Red Sox game. I'm looking at the big board where they have all the stats of the Yankees lineup. And after Aaron Judge in the 3-hole, their lineup is laughable. Like, it's actually disgustingly horrible. Like, they're just so bad, the players that they're stacking. You have Trent Grisham, a guy who stands there with his bat on his shoulder getting meaningful at-bats for you in a game. Like, it's not a secret why the New York Yankees are not performing well. They don't have good players hitting in their lineup outside of Aaron Judge and Juan Soto. Like, yes, rookie Ben Rice comes in, he's put together some great at-bats. After his 3-home-run game, he's striking out 3 times because he's a rookie, and that's part of this beautiful game that we love. But the Rays' metrics against left-handed pitching is something that they struggled with to begin the season, or were very good with last season. So the fact that now that they're doing better against lefties, it's just a general regression that happens in baseball. And Ryan Pepio, the pitcher for the Rays, is one of my guys, one of these young studs that I have been tuned into for the last, 18 months at this point. He was on the Dodgers, came over to the Rays in that Glass-Now deal. He's hit and miss, and there's some things to look at for young pitchers. Like, if a young pitcher is racking up a ton of strikeouts, a ton of great stuff, like, there are going to be times where you make mistakes. Your fastball's flat, your changeup's not changing, and, you're going to get hit around a lot. When you're on the ball, he is one of the best pitchers in stuff plus in the majors. He's a kid who has a ton of potential. The Yankees lineup, again, is just not a threatening type of lineup, and they're just overall obviously playing absolutely poorly, as we've seen. Rodon is a guy who has definitely made some very good starts this year, but is nowhere near the level that the Yankees would like him to be at. Again, the Rays have done better against left-handed pitching so far. And again, Pepio is one of my guys whatsoever. So I think that the Rays are going to be able to squeak one out against the Yankees. Yes, their bullpen has been horrible, the Rays, but they've actually been better over the last 3-4 weeks at this point, while the Yankees, complete opposite. Their bullpen was one of the better in baseball to start the year, and now they're one of the worst in baseball. And you can't score runs, you can't win games. Probably going to sit around this total of 8. I think the Rays come out and win this baseball game.
Rays coming out and winning the game, says our man EP. It's funny, I say that almost incredulously, but it's not like it's all that crazy. Both teams coming off of a sweep. Bryan, we have here in the chat, we got RU Zen. Keep fading the Yankees until further notice. You agree with our man Zen there? I mean, the thing about the Yankees is when they actually find a way to get the win in their last 3 wins, they do it in resounding fashion. 14-4, the last win that they had, that was in the middle game against Boston. 8-1 the game in the 4-game set finale against Toronto. 16-5 the other one. So, like, when they win, it's because the bats come alive. You know what I'm saying? So I'm wondering for you, could you see that potentially happening here today against Pepio, or how do you see this one shaking out?
I'm in agreement with Eric. And by the way, great to do a show with you, Eric. We had the chance to meet at Bet Bash out here in Las Vegas last year. First time I ever met Eric. And this may be the first show we've done together. So it's a pleasure to work with you. And I agree with you on this game. I'm looking to play Pepio in the Rays also. I have both these pitchers rated similarly, but Pepio doesn't give up quite the hard hit rate that Rodon does, 43.2%. And the key to this game to me is the bullpen. And Tampa's bullpen has not been great this year, but they've always had a good bullpen. And they just have the guys that they can mix and match all season long, and they're starting to come together in that regard. And as was mentioned, the Yankees bullpen, especially the back of the bullpen, has really struggled as of late. And I've been saying the same thing about the Yankees offense all season long. Verdugo was hitting very well earlier in the season. But if you take a look at a lot of the guys they have, it's either guys that have been brought up from the minors too early, or veteran guys that have been passed around like your Trent Grisham, your J.D. Davis. This is not your Yankees offense that your older brothers and your parents have seen. This is a different team in which everybody just pitches around Judge and Soto, and they're able to have success. And that's something that Tampa Bay will do here. Tampa Bay doesn't have the bats that the Yankees did in the past, but they've got guys who can run. And we've seen a lot of that lately is teams are getting on base and stealing, and those are the teams that are having success. I like Tampa here. To have them as an underdog here, to me, is a little bit ridiculous. The Yankees should not be favored in this matchup.
Yeah, and that's the pinstripe tax that we've talked about here on the show. There's the thoughts. A lot of Rays love here from our experts. Hop below in the comments. Let us know if you're seeing that the same way. I know G Hurt does. He says, I think there's at least 3 people in this chat that could double off Rodon right now. So G Hurt thinking they could even stack up some runs against this Yankees side. While you're hanging out with us, folks, want to let you know too. We mentioned at the top, Bryan's got a 5% here rocking tonight. And sure, if you want, you can go over there and grab that play. I wouldn't blame you riding with a hot handicapper like our man Bryan, who sees it on the diamond year after year. But why grab that one play? If you thought that 7-for-7 deal that we were rocking with for the 4th of July was great, we got such a terrific response. People asking, hey, can you extend this? We upped the ante. $7 a day for 30 days. That's right, 30-day all access. And want to mention with the All-Star break coming up, if you grab it here today and you're like, well, I just locked in 30 days and I'm not getting any plays through the All-Star break, don't worry. Any days at the capper that you choose, if they pass on that day, it's rolling over. So you're going to get 30 net days. You're not going to be missing out. If your handicapper passes, don't worry. You're going to get that tacked in on the back end once all the sports are back and rolling. Get 30 days of all action. Get you through the dog days of summer. Highly suggest doing that. And the cat agrees with the deal. The running thing in the chat is when we hear the cat when Bryan Leonard is on, it means it is a nuclear whale goat play. And obviously that deal is a nuclear whale goat play there for you. So go on over, check that out. WagerTalk.com, WT.buzz/deals, a quick way to get there. EP, I got to mention how you had a new market that you wanted to talk about, and it's a daily K leader, daily strikeout leader. That's over there. A lot of folks here, we're talking about DraftKings, FanDuel, Caesars, all of these regulated books. So a lot of folks have them, and it's over at FanDuel that you have some potential guys that you might be eyeing to get strikeouts in bunches here today. We'll get back to some of these games here in the chat, but tell us about the new market and how you maybe would look to attack it here on a Tuesday.
Yeah, I'll keep it relatively short and sweet. This market's been around since last season, but they don't always offer it on full slates. But today is a day where FanDuel offers the daily strikeout leader with dead heat rules, meaning that if 2 pitchers or even 3 have the same amount of strikeouts, which is literally whichever starting pitcher has the most strikeouts for that day, you win. And there are great value in this market, and there are a couple of pitchers I am eyeing. So I'm just going to do a quick run through of the board and give you guys 1 or 2 guys, even some long shots that I do like. And we're talking long shots like 26-1, because of course this is a tough thing to do. Got Chris Sale up top. Obviously doesn't really need an introduction, but that D-backs lineup does do very well against left-handed pitching. Nick Lodolo, 7-1 second. We saw what Andrew Abbott did to the Rockies, and Lodolo has better strikeout metrics across the board, so my eye would be on Lodolo. Rodon is tied at 7-1, X him out. Wheeler, 7.5-1 against that Dodgers lineup that has seen him well, so I wouldn't be betting Wheeler. But Zach Gallen, 8.5-1 against this Braves offense that if you look at their numbers from strikeout rates and their swinging strike and chase rates against right-handed pitching, yes, Gallen hasn't been this strikeout kind of dominant guy as we saw. I mean, even last year when he had a great season, he wasn't even really racking up the Ks too much. So I would pass on Gallen. But Shada Imanaga, 13-1 against the Orioles. That's a good look with the Orioles not hitting well against lefties. But Bailey Ober, 13-1 against the White Sox. Ober has such good strikeout metrics. Now, the White Sox aren't a true rollover and die strikeout team all the time, but I would look at Ober 13-1 as well. I'm going to skip a couple of guys and go to one of my sleepers on this board, and that would be if you really want to take a look at something that, again, he's only maxed out at 8Ks, but based on this board, I think 8 or 9 could get you there. Ronel Blanco, 26-1 at home against the Miami Marlins. His thing is, he throws a lot of balls, so he, does walk a lot of batters. But the Marlins are one of the highest swing rate teams and the highest chase rate teams in all of baseball. And Blanco has shown his ability to rack up 8 Ks and pitch deep into ball games as well. So if you want a real flyer, 26-1 on Ronel Blanco. But it's a very fun market. Again, you have some guys like Chris Sale's only 4.5-1 as the chalk, and it's understandably so. But I've had times, last year I hit like a 42-1 in this market. Shout out to Reed Detmers, a guy who stinks now. But always a fun thing to look at this board. And some guys I like, again, Lodolo 7-1, Ober 13-1, and you want to get a little bit crazy, Ronel Blanco 26-1.
Love those looks there. Folks love betting those nice long shot props. That's Eric Pauly. Slime Action is where you can find him on X, and you can find him over at WagerTalk, wt.buzz/TGS. Grab some all access for that heading on into football season. One of the best resources to start your capping every single week with plays, analysis, player stats. It's a great way to get ready to go for the week, whether you're betting baseball or football. Definitely check out the Gold Sheet. .com. We got baby doll Naomi over on TikTok. She was asking, hey, can you talk about a potential nerfy in the Kansas City Royals and St. Louis Cards game? I think you could be talking about a no run all day in that one, because what I'm tracking looks like we're going to get a postponed game there. So I would hate to do a full breakdown on that game, on a game that folks just have to scroll past. Looks like rain pretty much in that area through the evening, through past like 10 p.m. tonight. So I would bet the no run at all, because I don't think the game's going to happen in Kansas City, visiting the St. Louis Cards there. Bryan, let's talk some best bets before we circle on back here to the chat. We would appreciate if you guys got any games you want us to hit on there. But Bryan, like I was mentioning, that 5%er you have rocking, people can grab the long-term all access. But if they just want to try out, it's a great time to do so, because that plays only $2 today. And these 5%ers for Bryan Leonard don't come along very often. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, it's only been 2 of them released here throughout MLB. Clients cashed in on both of them. So tell them what you're excited about tonight, and also tell us how to bet this Atlanta and Diamondbacks game, because this was a game we talked about a lot because we like Chris Sale going over his strikeouts there in game 1. Then the deck got shuffled, and then everything we talked about became a moot point. Chris Sale's going today, and it's going to be against Zach Gallen. So best bet, and tell folks why you're so pumped up about this 5%er they can grab for just $2 tonight over at your page.
Yeah, we're just on a tremendous run, #1 in baseball the last 30 days, last 60 days since May 1st. It's been a great run. We had one play yesterday, Detroit Tigers, nice underdog against Cleveland. I really like this card today. I've got 6 plays overall. So if you're looking to buy the monthly package, that's the way to do it. And I'm not going to have any plays over the All-Star break. I'm not a guy who's going to handicap a home run derby or anything like that. So you're going to get 3 days added on to that at the end. So you're going to get a really good deal. I love the 5% play today. It's something that I had circled. And the line is even better than what I thought it was going to be. So I love that play. In fact, I love today's card. I do want to mention there's 4 games that rain could affect. The games in Detroit, Cincinnati, St. Louis, and in Chicago for the White Sox, all are expected to get pretty good rain today. So don't go betting any grand slams or whatever they call those things where you get the runs for the entire league because you don't know how long the games are going to go or whatever. But you talked about the game yesterday. I was all set to play Atlanta yesterday. I liked the matchup going against the Arizona pitcher, but now, after they got the change, I prefer the Arizona side. Chris Sale was supposed to pitch yesterday, but was pushed back to today. The reason being that his next start will be on Sunday, so he won't have to pitch into the All-Star game. That's all fine and good, considering he's basically reached his innings limit from last year. It's something to keep an eye on. It's also something that Atlanta's going to look at the rest of the year. He may be cruising, and they may take him out early. And as my counterpart there was talking about for strikeouts, that could be something to keep Sale from only pitching 6 innings as opposed to going 7 or 8 in a game. So keep that in mind for the rest of the season. Zach Gallen comes in with a 3.06 ERA, 1.11 WHIP, very similar to his career numbers, but in actuality, he hasn't really pitched that well this year, not up to his abilities. So I think this is a big game for him, going up against Chris Sale, who could be the all-star starter for the National League. I think this is an important game for Gallen. And from a hitting standpoint, we are concerned about the direction the Braves have gone after key injuries to top players. They continue to bring up weak bats from the minors, as well as signing washed-up veteran outfielders. Former Brave Eddie Rosario back in the lineup here in Atlanta after they claimed him on a minor league deal after he struggled earlier in Washington. Arizona just got back World Series hero Alek Thomas. He's been back for a few days now. They have the depth that the Braves would die for. This Diamondbacks team has a 119 WRC plus versus lefties, which is fifth in the league. They have a solid offensive edge in this matchup, according to my numbers, and it also doesn't hurt that they blew that game yesterday after leading for the majority of the contest. If a team comes back from losing like Atlanta did yesterday and is able to get that victory, those are teams I'm looking to fade the next day. They're satisfied they got that victory. I think Arizona is a nice home dog here, is the way to look in this one.
Great breakdown there from man Bryan Leonard. Check him out, wt.buzz/BL. Like we said, that 5% is just the third one of the year, $2 today. But he's got a loaded card if you want to grab that 30 days, $7 a day, locks you in, and you get passed through the All-Star break. The only best bet for the All-Star break would be Pete Alonso to somehow look like a dork during the home run derby, whether it's when they show him meditating or not. That would be a best bet for me. I don't know if they really offer that. Maybe you got to look on an offshore to find that one, but that would be the way that I would be looking to play the home run derby there. EP, let folks know what you guys are pumped up about over at the Gold Sheet. I mean, these football videos that are going to be coming, breaking down every team, getting you ready to go for football in the NFL is a terrific resource. Ralph Michaels also doing some college football previews as well that the people can find right here on the channel, but wt.buzz/TGS. And on into football, man. It is major buy signs over there. So tell folks about that, and also let them know how to bet the true marquee matchup of the evening. That is the Rockies taking on the Reds. How are we looking to bet that one, brother?
Yeah, before I get into it, obviously, let's keep it short and sweet because we still have a little bit of time for football, and it is baseball season, but we have some amazing content coming out with the Gold Sheet. Shout out to Ralph and the rest of the team for taking care of the college side. Shout out to everybody who's helping me with the NFL side, but hit that subscribe button because I'm going to break down all 32 NFL teams based on, of course, their win total, their divisional odds to win their conference, Super Bowl, etc. Tell you who to fade, who to back, who we're eyeing, and get a copy of the Gold Sheet. Now, the Gold Sheet is a newsletter, the longest-running sports betting newsletter in the industry, and it includes breakdowns of every NFL game and college game from Week 0 and Week 1 in the NFL through the CFB playoff championship game, as well as the Super Bowl, power ratings, stat logs, etc., to help you handicap the written breakdowns of everything. And that is available for purchase. And again, we have a ton of free content coming also. So you like what you hear, get on that. But I as much as I love football, newbie, I obviously baseball is great. I will definitely be betting on the home run derby. So if you want to follow me on Twitter at Slime Action, I will be posting all my tickets. But what I'm looking at today for a best bet, I'm going to the Cincinnati Reds, Colorado Rockies. I'm going under 4.5 for the first 5 innings of this one. Now, we saw, like I mentioned earlier, Andrew Abbott shut down this Rockies lineup yesterday. Always a good time to fade the Rockies when they're, coming into a game like that against a left-handed pitcher, and they have a matchup against another left-handed pitcher. But Lodolo, if you really take a dive into his numbers, he has missed some time, but he's got really good numbers, not just in terms of, for this Reds pitching staff, but across the league. We're talking swinging strike rates, stuff plus rates, first pitch strike rates. Those are all kind of things that you like to look for a pitcher, that they're attacking the zone and they're getting there. Then some advanced metrics, not a really good, like a very good hard hit ball rate, barrel rate. Like, he's just a very solid pitcher. And this is something that I've spoke about on the show the last time I was on. I was away for the last 2 weeks, so you probably missed me, but Cal Quantrill, there were so many times in the MLB where you see a guy like Cal Quantrill, who last year was absolutely horrendous. You faded him all year. You probably made yourself some good money. So what do you do this year? You start the year fading Cal Quantrill, hoping that the money train keeps rolling. And if you've been doing that, you haven't been having too much success because Cal Quantrill has actually put together a very nice season. Now, his advanced numbers on Savant aren't going to look that great, but you have to always consider that he plays half of his starts at Coors Field, the premier hitting park in the entire major leagues. But he actually has some really great metrics, and this Reds team, as we know, their offense has struggled to get it rolling. This opened at 5 at a market-making offshore, this first 5 total, and was quickly adjusted to 4.5 based on, again, how we saw last night's game go out in the first 5 innings. Ryan Feltner pitching well, and, of course, I mentioned Andrew Abbott. I think the Rockies struggled to get it going against Lodolo. I think Quantrill continues to pitch better than you would ever expect from Cal Quantrill if you watched him really pitch last year. And I think 4.5 is too high, and I like the under. I think you're getting about standard minus 115 on this one, so you're not paying a premium or anything. I like this game to go under. I backed the Rockies last night. I don't think they're going to – and I would actually – if I had to pick a side on this one, I would back the Rockies again. I bet them last night. Probably a pretty square dog in retrospect, but best bet for this one is under 4.5 first 5 for these two sluggish offenses.
Under early sluggish offenses, solid pitching according to the metrics that our man EP is checking out. Under in the first 5 there, number sitting around 4.5. Bryan looking at Arizona getting the plus money against Atlanta, against Chris Sale, who I know the chat is in love with. Hop below in the comments, let us know what your best bets are tonight. That's the best bets for the gentleman. Bryan has a true best bet, only the third 5%er of the year, rocking over at his page. Quickest way to get there, folks, wt.buzz/BL. We'll hyperlink you right on there. You can grab the $2 play. Has 5 other plays going tonight if you want to grab that 30 days for $7 a day. All access deal, no code needed for that, but check him out over at WagerTalk. And of course, as we mentioned, wt.buzz/TGS. Yes, football is right around the corner. Cash in with baseball with one of the best cappers to do it, and our man Eric Pauly. We appreciate you tuning in here. Tuesday edition rolling to a close. Still got plenty of shows left coming your way the rest of the week before that All-Star break. And like EP said, he'll take care of you through the All-Star break over at Slime Action with some props and plays over there. If you like the content, hit that like button. If you like it enough, hit that subscribe button and that little bell, and you'll never miss when we go live. We'll be going live in under 30 minutes here. Kelly Stewart, Teddy Covers, Wager Talk today. Bryan Leonard going to be playing a doubleheader. He's on Wager Talk today alongside the co-founder of Wager Talk, Marco D'Angelo. So stick around for that. We'll be back locked and loaded right here, 11 a.m. Eastern on the East Coast. On the West Coast, getting up with us 8 a.m., getting you some baseball winners. We'll see you then. Best of luck till then, everyone. Have a great day.